hope you are doing well today. I wanted to come to you and talk to you a little bit about internet in rural communities, especially as it relates to YouTube creators. For those of you that might not be familiar, I have recently had to move from the Mexican border city of El Paso, Texas, to rural Kentucky. We're just outside of Lexington, but it is a rural community here in Madison County, and we are experiencing problems trying to get high-speed internet. Now, I have become spoiled over time. Even in the rural community from Tennessee where I lived, I still had high-speed internet, and that was when it just very first began. So I had a little bit of a shock for my move here to where I could not get access to broadband or fiber optic type of internet, high-speed internet, typically through your cable providers such as Time Warner Cable, Charter, or Spectrum. Spectrum is now the umbrella for Charter and Time Warner Cable, depending on where in the country you live. I think now they're trying to go all the way to Spectrum. However, they are not available here in my area. What I wanted to talk to you about is going to be in relation to what struggle you might have to make the decision of your satellite providers that might be available in your area versus the AT&T, UVerse, and fixed wireless selections that might be available to you, as well as maybe educate some of you, because I know for myself it's been quite an education on what all of this internet speed and data and all this crazy stuff it is. I have really had to learn a lot, and unfortunately it's not really done a lot for me to learn it, but I wanted to pass it on to you. This is the Handmade Crafty Creators website, as many of you already know. If you haven't already checked it out, I do plan to create a blog post and have it posted up here for you to read a little bit more information, maybe get some more specific details that I won't cover in this video. So here in Kentucky, we have something called the Kentucky Wired Initiative. I believe it started out as the Broadband Initiative here in Kentucky, and it's now called the Kentucky Wired Project. They have recently done some updates here. The entire state of Kentucky was trying to pull away from the broadband fiber internet offered through Spectrum, as a few other states have, is my understanding. I know New York was suing Spectrum over customer complaints and issues and things like that, unfair pricing. Kentucky, Lexington in particular that I've heard, has done something similar. I don't believe that they actually filed the lawsuit, but in my particular community, I think that that has greatly impacted why we do not have Spectrum progressing into the rural communities. You can't even get a tech to come out into your area for most cases to even evaluate your area if it is more than 200 feet away from what they call a head-end plant. Which involves something about nodes and amps and all this other crazy stuff that I learned from a very helpful lady in the construction department at Spectrum. Once I was told that I had service available in my area, and then was told all of a sudden, no, I do not. She was helpful in giving me that information. But the Kentucky Wired Initiative appears to only be beneficial to the government offices, maybe the school systems, and some of the maybe local rural community members that qualify for free internet per the project. Similar to how Madison County offers free recycling program to some of its residents in Madison County, but not all of its residents in Madison County, which I find to be extremely upsetting because we're all paying the taxes. So go figure. Now, as far as what is happening, it's kind of at a standstill. They have apparently been working on this for several years, and it is something I can show you here on their little map, which it might not be that great for you to see. I'm down here in Madison County, which is very tiny here on this thing. I think that's right here, yeah. You can see by the colors here at the left, this is what is completed, and this is what is in progress. This map is dated January 9th of 2019. Only a few areas have anything that is complete. Madison County, we are right here in the green zone, but we also have a lateral bypass that goes into the one complete closest section here. So who knows how long this will take to become actually available in Madison County, and when will it become available to the actual citizens it was meant for to serve? Who knows? I had to do a search as far as what other options might be available to me as a new resident. Since I knew I wasn't going to get Spectrum broadband fiber internet, I had to then look at DSL options and the option through my AT&T wireless that I had already. There's also obviously other wireless providers, but in specific to AT&T, because they also used to offer something called the AT&T Uverse, which, as I understand, they are phasing that out. In my area, the only thing that I have available to me are two satellite internet providers, one being HughesNet, the other being Viasat. I had never heard of either one of these. If you can get away from having to use a satellite internet provider for my little bit of time being on one, I can advise you wholeheartedly, do avoid it. Say that you have Spectrum broadband available to you, but you thought that you would pay less and go with a satellite provider. Stay with Spectrum. Just pay the extra money. I'm telling you, it'll be worth it. If you're a big, internet user. As far as speed, you're going to hear me talk a lot about that. We have what's called a megabits per second. There's two different Mbps's. This is the one that I'm concerned about right here, the M lowercase bps. This is megabits per second, and I was seeing that here, there, and everywhere, and all it is that is the speed for the connection of your internet. The other one is how much of a file is downloaded per second. Now, when I used a tool at AT&T, I was shown this Mbps a lot as far as the breakdown in particular speeds, and I'm going to show you this chart here in just a minute as far as the data cap that it estimates that I would need per month. But when I go over here to this article from Whistle Out, they have a really handy chart that shows you more about this Mbps. Now, I had to go with HughesNet in my area because Viasat was available in my area, but not at the full 100 Mbps speed that it apparently has in select communities. HughesNet only goes up to 25 Mbps, and actually it starts and ends at 25 Mbps. Now, that is not as much as 100 as Viasat, but Viasat in my area does not reach that 100 that it does in certain areas. So I went ahead and chose HughesNet because it had a new update to the satellite, and a couple of the people in our community here said that they were using it. HughesNet only goes from 1 to 3 Mbps. So you can see on this chart here where it's talking about a data usage guide at a glance. Basic web, you're okay at 1 Mbps. You're going to have data, which is another thing we'll talk about, the cap. But the data for 1 Mbps for basic web use, not doing anything special, is 10 to 25 megabits. Social media, which a lot of people do, you're good at 1 Mbps. I don't stream music, but there's that total. Streaming 480p video. As a YouTube creator, you know that you have, when you upload a video, you have different quality of playback. The 480p is what I call substandard. The next would be I think it's the 720 and the 1080p. Those are HD, which is typically what I used to watch all of the time because at that time I had Spectrum and I didn't have to worry about a data cap. What happens is when you stream at 480 or less, your speed is less, so it's less taxing on your speed. But look here, 480p still requires 4 Mbps. HughesNet satellite internet only offers you 1 to 3 Mbps. So that's why every time I go and watch anyone's videos at YouTube, it's blurry, it's pixelated. Anytime I try to Netflix, it just flat kicked me off. Even though it has something called a stream saver, which has been totally, useless for me at this point. And then look over here, the data per hour for that 4 Mbps is 700 megabytes. If you're going to stream HD quality video, which would be that 720 or 1080, I believe, you're needing at least 8 Mbps in your speed, 3 gigs per hour. You're talking a lot of gigs, especially since some of these plans only allow 10 gigs per month, going on up to only 50 gigs per month. So you can blow through that without even getting halfway through a season on Netflix if you have to, if you're one of those people like I am that likes to watch Netflix a lot. 4K video, I've never dealt with. I'm not going to be sad that I can't have access to it. Gamers, you would have a situation here, although you do have the 3 Mbps available to you for your speed, availability, and 15 megabytes per hour. So this is a very useful chart as far as the speed, trying to get into my mind, okay, depending on what I'm doing, how much speed would I need?